Hey guys, this is Red and Blue, and today, how are you doing? Are you still riding high? Are we still feeling all good and nice and on top of the world after qualifying in Chelsea with such a nice, full of style performance? I'm feeling good. I love it. It's a good feeling. Nothing like the Champions League, nothing like a big win. And today, this win also gives me license to talk about a player that I've wanted to talk about for a little bit. And this player is Mayulu. Or Titi, who's been shining bright in Stamford Bridge yesterday. He's also been negotiating with the club for a contract extension because his contract is expiring soon. He's been progressively getting more and more game time. He's more and more impressive by the day. And so I thought it'd be a good moment to take a step back and talk about Seny Mayulu. So let's just do that. Seny Mayulu is going to be turning 20 in May. So in about 2 months' time, 1 month, 2 months' time. He's a TT. He's been at PSG since he was 13 years old. So he's really gone through the ranks of the youth teams all the way to the pro. In the last couple of years, essentially, he's been going from getting his first minutes with the pros to now being a relatively senior member of the squad. This season, to give you a sense, he's played about 40% of the minutes available, which is pretty high, honestly, for a 19-year-old player. Obviously, there's been also a lot of injuries and a lot of rotations this season, but both Luis Campos and Luis Enrique have multiple times indicated that they really like the player. So if you remember, there was a quote from Luis Campos last summer saying, "I love Seny Mayulu," that was the quote. And he also said that they didn't want to bring Rodrigo Mora of Porto over to PSG because they didn't want to challenge and put a competition for Seny Mayulu. Which was really saying something, because Rodrigo Mora last summer was really the high prospect in Europe. So that was really saying something. Luis Enrique on his end, I think progressively he's been giving more and more game time to Mayulu. He's used him almost everywhere in the team. In true Luis Enrique fashion, he's taken who was initially an offensive midfielder / left winger, and he's played him in every position in attack, in every position in midfield, and he's even played him in right back once or twice. So he's given him a full tour of the pitch just to see how Luis Enrique plays football. And I think the player has been doing really well for that. He's now developed into a very complete kind of midfielder with no real hard weaknesses. Honestly, he's really this kind of player who's very versatile, both in terms of position, but also in terms of his gaming style. He can go from being a false nine to really being on the more defensive side of midfield. So he's got a lot of depth to his game. I think the caveat to that is that typically he's not a player that's got a very flashy sort of playing style. He's not necessarily the player that's really going to grab the spotlights and the camera and where you're going to see incredible highlights circulating on TikTok. But progressively, he's really built himself into a player that's really substance over flash. And I think, his game in Chelsea yesterday really reflects that. He's 45 minutes on the pitch. He comes on, he's very secure technically, doesn't miss a beat, his passing is really good, he can project. I think where I'm very impressed with him, honestly, is tactically and off the ball. I think he's really, really good at being this first line of defense and being very astute in terms of where he positions himself, being in the right kind of tempo to go press the opposition, and really projecting all the way to being able to take a shot and scoring a goal yesterday. And, I think in this area, Chelsea was just the last victim of Mayulu, but he's done Chelsea, he's done Barcelona earlier this season. Obviously, he scored a goal in the Champions League final against Inter last season. So he's a guy you can shine against big opponents, and that's really saying something. And I think for me, the way I see him, honestly, at this point is that, I kind of see him it's obviously an unfair comparison at this point, but almost see him as a mini Fabian Ruiz. in the sense of, this midfielder who can do it all, who can really transition from helping offensively when we're in possession, but also being really pulling his weight defensively when we're not, with a very, very high tactical IQ, with great positioning and the ability to have a big impact on the pitch without like having tons of physicality and like big runs and so on. And a player who's always kind of like right on the right on the right track when it comes to like the technical elements of his game. So it's it's really impressive development for a 19-year-old, and I think it's funny because like Warren Zaire-Emery we knew from the start, and like literally I remember from when Zaire-Emery was 16, even 15, he was always very, very highly talked about. He was always early versus his generation. He was always playing with kids who were older than him, and he was always advanced in terms of how he was developing physically. So there was always a hype about Warren Zaire-Emery. There wasn't so much about Mayulu, and I think Mayulu, like, really like credit to him and to Luis Enrique that he made himself through hard work and through really like developing this special relationship with Luis Enrique, who really invested in the player, and it's shown and it's really paid dividends. So now where are we with him? The sad part about it is that Mayulu is out of contract at the end of next season, so in summer 2027. But so far, the negotiations to get him to extend his contract have been stalling. We heard a few weeks back that the players have actually turned down 3 different offers from PSG, and that's what we're hearing in the media. So I don't know how much of a reality it is, but it's pretty like consistent and things that a lot of people are talking about is that his agents and the people gravitating around him are asking for a lot of money versus where the player is at. Once again, I always take this sort of thing with a strong pinch of salt because you never really know when you're not in the conversation. But what's been said is that he's essentially asking for a salary that would be almost on par with Joao Neves. And look, I love the player, I love the kid, I love a good TT that makes it into the first team. But at this point, like, there's light years between where Joao Neves is at and where Mayulu is at. I'm not saying like he'll never get there. Maybe he will. I think it's a tough one because like Joao Neves is such a high standard. But I really value Mayulu, and I think he's got like really potential. And at the same time, like, like the other midfielders that he grew up with and went through all of the youth categories in PSG is Warren Zaire-Emery. And Warren Zaire-Emery, when he extended his contract 2 years ago, he got a huge, huge salary, which I think is still to the day higher than Joao Neves. And so, like, I can kind of sympathize with Mayulu from that perspective, which is, hey, like, there's no reason why like I shouldn't be getting anything close to what those guys are getting. Even if I'm young, even if I'm like not a critical part of the starting 11, I've been progressing, I've been making an impact, and so like give me my money. And the reality of it as well is that a lot of very good like top tier European teams are sniffing around him as well. And they sense that he might be a player that you'd be able to poach from PSG. And there's been rumors already about like pretty much all of the top English teams. So from Arsenal, Chelsea, Man City, Liverpool, Man United. So like Tottenham put in an offer last summer, which was rejected straight away from PSG. Even like I saw something today actually of Real Madrid potentially being interested in the player. Which I think is a long shot, but like there's a lot of clubs who are looking at him in Germany as well. One of the big contenders has been Dortmund, and I think the question at this point is like for the player, what does he stand to lose? What does he stand to gain? Because yes, maybe if he goes to England, he's going to get a higher salary. He might get a higher like signing on bonus, but he's played a really important part in Luis Enrique's squad. And I think a 19-year-old in the team that is European champion at this point, who's getting 40% of minutes available, it's really not nothing, honestly. And I seriously struggle to think that he would have such a big role if he was in Arsenal, if he was in Liverpool, if he was in Man City. Yeah, he might if he's in Man United or in Tottenham, but would he really want to go there? Even in Chelsea, like, I mean, Mayulu, I love him, but he's not going to start over Enzo or Caicedo. Like, it's just not going to happen. Even in Dortmund, for that matter, like he might like get a bit more playing time, but it's competitive. And he's still very young and he's still very inexperienced. And the reality of it is that also like his game has been like shaped and built by and for Luis Enrique. And so I actually like really do wonder how good he would be in another context. We've seen more than a few times youngster coming out of PSG who show really promising signs while in Paris, and then fail to show that when they leave the club and go somewhere else. I think, a player like Rabiot, honestly, I think he killed his career by leaving PSG and not renewing. He was really like on the cusp of being in the starting 11 in PSG, and he left and went to like Juventus and kind of lost himself over there. He could have had a bigger career, if you ask me. So, like, I think it's a hard decision, and I think ultimately, like, yeah, it's funny because, of course, the player is going to say like, "Oh, I'm looking for a project to get more playing times and more starts and more minutes." At the same time, the agents and the entourage are saying like, "Oh, he needs to be paid more." The proposal that PSG gave him essentially, I think, puts him around like the 15th. I don't remember if it's 15th or 18th top salary of PSG. Which honestly, like if you rank the player in this PSG team, that's kind of where he is right now. He's probably gonna get better than that in the future. But that's when like you renegotiate and renew, and like PSG has been doing that. So I think for me, like, yeah, it breaks my heart a little bit because you can see I like the player and I really do value him. And I think like, a lot of fans maybe like don't rate him as high as I do. But yeah, I do think like he's got potential. He's been showing a lot of promise. That said, yeah, like there's a rule now. We're not giving silly money anymore. And ultimately, like if there's been 3 offers, and if those offers are actually fair, there comes a point where you cannot give everyone like everything that they would want. And if the player is not ready to compromise and he think he can get better elsewhere, I'll be very sad. But ultimately, like I also remember that like when we sell youngsters, we'll sell them at like basically 100% profit. Because Mayulu, he came to us at 13. Obviously, we didn't pay a transfer fee for him then. And in terms of salary, he's never made a big dent on our finances or anything like this. So if we sell him tomorrow for 40 million euro, that's 40 million euro straight into our pocket. And I remember that, I remember when we sold Xavi Simons to Tottenham for 60 million euro, same kind of thing, a player that cost us almost nothing, and that's the money that we reinvested into buying Kvara. So who's to say, if we sell Mayulu tomorrow for 40 million, I'll be sad, because I like the player and I like the TT. But life goes on, and maybe we'll get a player who will be better. And we have more and more TTs coming out of the academy anyway, who might get close to being ready to get some game time. So it is what it is. We'll have to see anyway, because that situation is going to have to get resolved before the summer, one way or the other, because that's when he's going to be 1 year away from the end of his contract. So that's when, if he doesn't renew, we have to sell him. So that's something that's going to have to evolve relatively quickly. We'll keep an eye on. We'll keep an eye on the development of the player. But for now, yeah, Mayulu his future is very much in flux. So anyway, this is what I had for you guys on Seni and how he's been doing and what's in the future for him. Let me know in the comment what you make of the player. Are you Team Mayulu or part of the people who don't really rate him that highly? And what would you do with him? Like, how far would we be willing to compromise, if any? And yeah, like how much do you rate the player? Let me know in the comment. As always, if you've made it this far, please drop a like on the video. Massively helps. It will also show all the love for the team after the Chelsea win. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell to get notified of future videos. We're growing every day. Like, the community is growing. All of the comments after the Chelsea win have been amazing. It's put a smile on my face all day. So thanks for that. So join the team. Join the team, guys. Subscribe, hit the button, and join the party. And as always, for Mayulu, just like for the rest of them, ici c'est Paris!